Okay, all right, perfect. So we're going to talk about the science of redox signaling and how it's connected to damaged cells, aging, and disease. That's a really interesting topic, isn't it? A great way to start, but we're really going to try to pull it around and show you how being able to put yourself in the driver's seat, as I feel that we are, is our way of really making sure that we can stay as healthy as possible, and the connection to why health and the opposite side of things all tie into redox signaling. I want to start by asking a really important question. How does our body know what to do? We don't actually think about breathing, we don't think about moving, digesting our food, and we kind of expect it to happen until it doesn't, right? Well, I want you to put into the chat box for me a 1 if you would agree that over the last 10 or 20 years, you would say that you feel different than you did 10 or 20 years before. Because the control mechanism that ties all this together is this thing that keeps us alive, these redox signaling molecules. The science is showing us, as you can see from this published study, that with age, we are noticing changes in this redox signaling, and we also know that they're totally essential for us to sustain health. But also what it's showing us is that over time, if we have a deviation away from being in balance with these signals, then what it promotes is disease. And so we want to do everything possible to keep ourselves in the best shape. And this is a mechanism that is intimately involved in how our body functions. Let's see who thought, yeah, we've got a few people there that would agree, right? We see changes over time, which is really what this statement is talking about. Alterations in that redox signaling is observed in aging. But before I want to go into this deeper, I really want to challenge you to think outside the box. And to put aside the old way of thinking about symptoms and conditions and being focused on those, and to be able to think about how we get to the root of dysfunction, because this is a different way of looking at things. Now, taking hands full of vitamins and minerals is really no longer enough for health. Science has actually progressed, and this approach is really more like exchanging drugs for supplements, right? Wanting to get rid of your drugs and saying, well, I'm going to find a supplement to put in its place, and hoping that the outcome would still be just as strong. But if you are like I was, and certainly like my clients were, they were really tired of taking dozens of supplements. I don't know if you can raise a hand to that one, if that's how you felt, that you have arrived at this space, or you have arrived at this space sometime back, that, maybe you were taking lots of different supplements. But what if we could do something that actually could help everything in the body, instead of thinking about, just a liver problem, or just a sleep problem, or just a memory problem? What could that mean, and how would that change the way that we focus? Our cell phones operate best when they have strong signals to help us communicate with one another. Poor signals definitely mean drop calls and confused conversations, right? I'm sure we've all been on one of those when we haven't been able to hear what someone's trying to tell us. Well, the cells in our body are literally no different. Their job is to communicate and to maintain health and to prevent disease. And redox signaling is part of that crucial communication system. Cells in our human body are always damaged or dying or even sick. And that's just a process of living. Being alive means that that's what's happening. But everything above the surface that you can see there actually starts with an imbalance below the surface. And how do we know the quantity of damaged cells that we have every day? How do we actually know if they're even being repaired adequately? We don't really have anything that can kind of look deep below the surface and say, here's the problem, and it's going to bounce up and become something above the surface in time. Now, if you put a 1 in the chat bar earlier because you said that you can feel different in the last 10 years or so, what are you noticing? Is it just poor sleep that's changing for you? Is it stiff joints? Is it weight changes, or is it something that's a lot more serious? Does it actually have a disease name? When we come to diseases, how much cellular damage is happening before the doctor actually gives us a diagnosis of high blood pressure or diabetes or, heaven forbid, cancer, because that's what it amounts to. Now, we have 9 Nobel Prizes on redox since the late 90s. We have 22 world annual conferences in Paris, France. We have universities in every country around the world contributing to the studies on redox. And it means that we know an awful lot about their importance for health and for also when things go wrong, where they play a part in when we get disease. But for the past 13 years, the exciting thing is that ASEA has actually been connecting the dots between the science and the application of redox for health. And our Facebook community, Healthy Self, actually has about 215,000 people posting their examples of connecting the dots between using redox technology and how it impacts our daily living, as opposed to simply being part of a science workshop. So these signals are actually made by the mitochondria, which is in every cell. There are hundreds, if not thousands of them, depending upon which cell they're in. And every cell uses the saline as part of this energy production. Probably familiar with the word Krebs cycle. The word redox combines these two parts, reductants, which are negative charges, and oxidants, which are positive charges. This is basically the cellular 911 of the human body. It detects and communicates when we have problems, and it helps solve those problems, but we recognize that as what we think of as healing. Now, Verdis Norton had actually retired from Kraft Foods, and he came across a company with 10 years of clinical research in this field of redox biology. He actually bought that research and invested further into this to develop that technology. And this business investment was very successful, but it brought about a moral dilemma. And that changed the direction with what he chose to do with this technology. And we'll talk about that as we move on. Lynn's going to circuit back and bring us to that part of it, because it's absolutely the fabric of what ASEA is about and the platform behind how every decision that they make is focused. But with the help of Dr. Gary Samuelson, who was an atomic medical physicist, along with a new team of PhD scientists, they actually discovered how to stabilize the lifespan of these redox signaling molecules and take them from a 10-year experiment where they lasted no more than about 10 to 30 minutes to a 12-month lifespan. Currently, they actually last about 21 months, and that's partly because our science has progressed so much since 2007. But this was a game changer. It created this whole new arena that had never existed before. And it also put us in a place that we are forging, we are developing, we are the leaders of this area of redox technology within the nutritional arena. This breakthrough, what we see here, has really been considered as important as the discovery of DNA or even penicillin. And as I said, it created a whole new category of redox biology. And up until that point had never existed. And we are still the only company in this space who has managed to create this game-changing science. We can't be reverse engineered because we're not about ingredients. And that kind of ties back a little bit to where I started by saying, I want you to forget about your approach and mindset that you come to the table with and think outside of the box, which is not with ingredients. So we're very different. It can't be reverse engineered. This product actually meets all third-party standards and independent validation, and it guarantees that you and I are buying stabilized redox signaling molecules. We have multiple places where this is third-party validated, and therefore gives us a safety guarantee. We meet lots of standards within the industry in terms of kosher and halal, and all sorts of requirements to be in the field of athletics that Lynn was mentioning at the beginning. This is the FDA facility. It is the only one in the world supplying the stabilized redox signaling molecules to 34 countries. We have 7 active patents and over 200 trade secrets in the production of what we have here, which is why it's only one facility in which everything is made and then it ships around the world to serve every customer that is enjoying the benefits of this product. So how does redox influence aging? We see it here, right? As Lynn mentioned, those wrinkles on the outside are a reflection of the changes on the inside, but why? Well, as the study at the very beginning talked about, that we see changes in redox with aging, all right, alterations come about with age, but it actually starts as early as puberty. We lose these signals from 1% per year in puberty. So it's not about beginning aging at the age of 40 or 50 or even 60. It's actually as early as in our teens, which is pretty amazing. And I don't think it's something we think about at that point. We begin to think about aging when we begin to see and feel some of those changes, maybe in our 40s and 50s and beyond. So combating this loss is fighting the evidence that the longer we're out of balance, according to that study, the more diseases we're likely to see. So if we can combat that imbalance by rebuilding, basically refilling our glass, so to speak, we can do something to avoid that sustained deviation, that sustained loss that science tells us creates diseases. Now, to think outside of the box, we're going to move from one pill for one thing to understanding how every cell works. And our cells, they basically play a game of Simon Says every second of the day. They're listening to these master molecules that are basically saying start or stop, turn on or turn off cellular function. And without Simon, nothing is going to happen. So that's how essential they are. Now, what that does is it helps us understand that if we have a healthy cell, since these are produced in every cell of the body, that creates a healthy organ, which creates a healthy us. So they are at a point where we have one mechanism that can affect every single thing in the human body. That blows away and opens up an arena where there are no limitations. We have no boundaries now. We're not thinking one specific thing for one problem, but we're thinking about function of everything. And that's why it's so powerful. Now, how do you take this? First off, we want you to track your health, benchmark everything about yourself, the small things, the big things, the insignificant things. Don't change anything that you're currently doing. So if you're taking medication, I want you to stay on that medication. And then just track the changes from the start to day 7, day 30, day 60, and day 90. Are you going to ask yourself questions about your energy? What is your energy level throughout the day? All right. Do you have good sleep? What's your stress level like? How's your body respond to stress? Because healthy cells can adapt to stress and keep us in a good place. When a cell loses its energy and it's less able to adapt to stress and keep us healthy, then things begin to go wrong. What's your mental focus like, your clarity, your hormone balance, everything that's relating to that, our mood, our menopause, our sex drive, our sugar regulation. What's our endurance and recovery like? What's your skin look like? Do you have blemishes? Is it crepey, dark spots, lots of wrinkles? All of those things, we want you to check out everything about you. And there may be things on here that, or rather, there may be things that you have in your life that aren't on this. Document those too. Track it and make sure that you know what's happening. And so how do you rebuild the levels in those glasses to avoid the deviation? Drink at least 4 ounces a day when you first get started. Now, 1 in 10 people are going to see changes in somewhere in that benchmark in the first 7 days, but that leaves 9 of us still waiting for things to happen. But if we don't have a change, we need to ask ourselves and reflect back to that picture of the iceberg. How much still damage is below the surface that needs to be repaired before it changes things above the surface? If you haven't seen any change in the first 7 days, double it up. Go to 8 ounces a day. That's the magic 8. That's the amount that we do in our clinical studies. And sometimes we need to continue to increase that until we see the changes that we're looking for, until our body reveals what's it doing with it underneath the surface. At 30 days, about 5 out of 10 people, that's 50% of people, are going to see things that they're looking for. But we see the biggest change come when we've changed more things below the surface, more blood cells, more healthy cells are turning up. And 90% of people are really excited when they get to that 3rd month. So just know that this is not a short and quick thing. You might well see something very quickly, and it probably will be things like energy and attention, clarity of mind, maybe less or rather better sleep, perhaps quality of sleep. Those are very common things in the very beginning. But just know that your body is going to be doing its work day by day by day. And as you replace and improve future cells, you're going to end up with something very different over the long haul. What do we know that we can say will happen if you drink ASEA? Well, our 8-week double-blind placebo-controlled genetic study done by Torit Labs showed that 100% of people drinking 8 ounces a day of the Redox, the test group, had a 20 to 31% sustained and beneficial improvement in 5 gene signaling pathways. This changed things like our immune signaling, our cardiovascular health with vein elasticity, arterial elasticity, improved gut health and digestive enzyme production, maintained inflammatory response, improved hormone vitality and wellness. And above all, one of the important things is to know that what you're supporting the body in doing with this was it showed that we're able to respond better to external stressors that cause problems. Now, if you're a little bit skeptical about the notion that the body's making this from saline, which is what's in every cell, and that we have to use the same components as the human body, just know that that placebo group received saline. They had a 0% change in their genetic function. So the beautiful thing about this is that not one of us on this call is any different from all of those people taking that ASEA Redox. And 100% of them had those changes. So at 2 months in, know that your body is benefiting in exactly the same way. Other studies that we show can prove that what we have is totally non-toxic. Our safety studies show that this is 100% non-toxic. You can drink as much as a bottle a day. Hopefully you're not going to need that much, but you can. It's not going to hurt. We can't be allergic to it because it's in you, me, pets, and plants. It is the mechanism that helps our cells function. And the most important thing, I think, for everyone to know is that there is no drug interaction. I think this is extremely rare. I don't know of any other natural supplement and herb that you can safely say that for. All herbs can be amazing, but a lot of them can interact with drugs. And so that's why doctors want to know what you're taking when they put you on medication or if you go into hospital. And so know here that you can stay on your medication, and you should stay on your medication. Simply add this in and benchmark the changes. Now, if your body starts to make changes that look a little different, go back to your doctor and get them to check things. What you're probably going to come back with is a story that many people tell us when they say, my doctor actually checked my blood work or checked my blood insulin levels, and he started to say, I don't need as much medication, and I'm beginning to move off that. It's not our place to be able to do that, but just know that you can work with your doctor, but it is safe to use. We get an 800% improvement in the efficacy of glutathione. If you've not heard of what that is, that's your master antioxidant. It's also your master detoxifier. It is the most important antioxidant that we naturally make in every human cell. It is tied to 82 known diseases when we don't have enough of it. And the older we are, and the older and sicker we are, the less we have. So that's an important thing to keep very strong. We have a 6.3% reduction in oxidization of LDL. We have significant shifts in 43 metabolites, 29% increased endurance in a mouse study, but we'll talk about why the athletes use it. Up to 30% increase in what we call an NRF2 pathway in the inflammatory gene signaling. That's how we churn out our own internal antioxidants. Those are the most powerful ones that the human body can have. They're much, much, much more powerful than the food source of antioxidants or even taking pills and potions. And so know that those are the ones that you want to be working incredibly effectively. It also improves apoptosis of stressed cells. Let's translate that into English. All right, when a cell is sick and unhealthy or it's old, it needs to get a signal to die off and be replaced with a nice new healthy cell. So apoptosis is cell death. What we did was improve the ability of the cells to hear the signal that their time has come and they need to move on and make space for a nice new healthy cell. That's pretty important. If you want to see these studies, you can see a link there to where to find them. Now, what would be one way that we can get a sense of how quickly our body uses these signals rather than waiting 1 week, 1 month, 3 months before we feel what it's doing with the liquid? Well, we have a topical application. It's called Renew 28. This is the redox technology, and it is put into a form where we can actually apply it to the skin. You'll see here it's totally clear. It doesn't have any smell. It's interesting, we actually created it for anti-aging. So if you don't want to see the wrinkles and you want to put that anywhere that you want to keep looking beautiful, this is an amazing skin application. But it has a very interesting application if you've got something that hurts you. Or maybe, just like Virginia, who was on here earlier before we started, if you have something that doesn't move too well. She had a shoulder that she couldn't move very much. And this gel technology is how we can help show 9 out of 10 people in under 10 minutes that something's happening. And what we would suggest you do is rate your level of discomfort, whatever that is. If you've got joints that don't move, check them out. Take a photograph of them because that's always valuable. All right. Find out if it's knees that don't work. Go climb the stairs, work out where it really starts to hurt too much. Do whatever it is you can do to evaluate where your point of discomfort is just too much. Take the gel, it is the liquid that we drink. Shake it up because it does kind of separate. We have a minimum amount of silicate clay in there to keep this effective. And then applying it to that area, I want you to apply it lightly to the skin. Understand we need to think outside the box with this too. Most things that you apply to the skin need to be absorbed first before they'll work. This is different. Remember, this is Simon Says, saying switch on, switch off, right? Turn on, turn off, do things, stop doing things. This is cellular communication. And so when we put the redox on our skin, because our skin is cells, everything is already taking up that information. It hears Simon say, turn on and do things. And so we start to work immediately, but I want you to apply it 3 times in 5 minutes. Wait 5 minutes and come back and do another benchmark. check out how uncomfortable it was and see where you are now. This was the product that I took into my office to evaluate. Was there a value to this? Did I want it? And I simply said to every client that came in, if they had something that hurt, I'm trying out something new, can you give me your feedback? Now, if you're curious and you're thinking of friends, this would be the thing I would take and do with a whole bunch of people, right? Because you might have to wait a little while to see what those liquid signals are going to do for you. But you can have fun and go find some friends and do just what I said and give me some feedback and play around with this, apply the gel. Now, in pain management, if you're in hospital, they consider 50% success rate. 50% success rate is their idea of having a successful outcome for reducing pain. Now, I would say if I had 5 out of 10 people that I could do the same without damaging them because there's no side effects to this, that would be exciting. But actually what I saw was all 10 could tell me of changes that happened in under 2 minutes for some people, 10 minutes for other people, went from an 8 to a 0, went from a 7 to a 3. All of that is an example of how quickly the body takes these signals, puts them to work where the body's having a challenge and gets things moving again, and without any side effects. So go play with it because it's a particularly powerful way to find out and build your sense of belief about what these signals can do for you. Lynn mentioned the athletes. Now, it speaks volumes to me for any product when Olympians use it, right? Their rigor around being able to consume a product that could put their career at risk is very stringent. And just like those mouse studies where the mice ran 29% longer, right, even though they didn't need to, this is why the athletes use it, because they see increased performance, recovery, much better mental focus. And those are all things that you and I can benefit from in our life. 29% more energy, maybe your day suddenly gets stronger and longer, and you're able to do things that currently is not on your schedule. Just think about what that could mean. Maybe you can play pickleball with your friends in the evening. Go take your kids and run around and do things. Take your grandchildren and do things. Maybe you aren't going to fall asleep in the evening, but you're going to catch up on something that you desperately want to do at home. All of those things make a difference to the quality of our life, and that's the value that this provides. So redox signaling detects, protects, repairs and replaces damaged and unhealthy cells, maintains genetic expression, and helps our adaptive response, our ability to protect and defend ourselves against environmental, viral or bacterial threats. In other words, our innate immune signaling system. The redox technology products, what do we have? We have the liquid, the bio-replenishment, being able to refill our glass. We have the Renew 28. If you notice on there are some clinical studies of a 28-day clinical study. I said this was an anti-aging, and so it was used for 28 days. We see surface skin renewal increase by 16% in 28 days. What does that mean? It means you look 16% younger, right? Because your skin cells are turning over faster like they did when we were younger. Improves smoothness and texture, elasticity, and a reduction in cellulite, all with just the power of redox and silica clay. And our newest product is the Redox Clay Mask, powering redox along with bentonite. And unlike most bentonite clay masks, this tightens and has amazing benefits for the skin, but it does not dry you out. And it pulls out impurities, refines the skin, and is just doing incredible things. We're seeing people use this on more than just their face. We're seeing it being put on feet, being put on tired muscles, and really having some amazing outcomes with it. But we've also pioneered how do we get targeted outcomes from redox technology when it's not just the pure redox liquid and signals themselves. The power of this is how we have analyzed the redox responses, looked at nutritional and botanical ingredients, and found out how to scientifically create products that can go into the cells and produce very specific outcomes. Our cell performance are powders that come in these very easy on-the-go sachets. You pop them into water, you can mix them into smoothies, you can mix them together, you can drink them cold or hot, and they're designed to help target and produce immediate effects with energy, mind, mood, and Radiance is our new one, which is for collagen. And we're going to talk about the benefits of skin, hair, and nail events. All of those are designed to help you feel the outcome in a very specific way, quickly, and also designed to help improve cognitive function, mood, hormones. We have clinical studies on perimenopause, for example, all sorts of things that are going to work for the long haul, not just in the short term. Renew Advanced Skincare is the only redox-based skincare on the planet because we own this space of redox. And so what you have is a cleanser, a toner, a serum, a glow serum, and a hydrating moisturizer that build and layer around the Renew 28 to provide this all-round science behind aging and redox within the skin. Our Ciavir nutraceuticals are organic, non-GMO, whole food-based nutraceuticals. And with the exception of the omega, which is from fish, they are all vegan. And they partner because this is the materials that the redox technology works on. So you now have the materials along with the labor from the redox itself to provide amazing cell production. I always think that, a picture speaks 1,000 words. Here's the 28-day clinical study. Examples of improving tone, elasticity, wrinkles, fine lines, irritation in the skin. Right? The fact that, remember, it's all over body skincare therapy, right? It's the largest organ we have, and it doesn't just have to be addressing our face. Put it anywhere that you want to improve skin. Remember, we also have a 16% improvement in cellulite in 28 days. We soothe irritated skin. It's really great for bites and itches and scratching and rashes, anything. It's your kind of go-to that you will find when you get to know the 50 ways that you can use this, that you really don't need all those other things that are in your clinical cupboard, maybe in your bathroom. This is the redox, the Radiance. I mentioned that we have the outcomes of the Radiance. I seem to have lost a visual there on the Radiance itself, but this is Dr. David Silverman's experience with drinking the collagen-based Radiance. This is a vegan product. It interrupts all of the unnecessary breakdown of the animal-based products that take a number of steps before you can rebuild and go to collagen making. And 1 gram of this product has the same benefits as 10 to 20 grams of other products on the market. It tastes amazing, and you just take 1 a day. This is, again, between November and January. You can see those changes around the fine lines and the eyes, the typical things that we all get as we age, and maybe as we smile a lot, don't stop smiling. Here's another beautiful one from the Radiance, and this is changes in the hair. So you can see differences in hair growth, both looking down and looking straight on. This is our age-associated cellular decline as we look and feel worse as we get older, but we want to show you how when you bio-replenish, when you rebuild your glass, we can combat and interrupt the damage of aging. And I think this is the most powerful set of photos that I know, and I certainly don't have a single product that can take someone over this time period and literally reverse their aging. And this is our beautiful Rosie. We have other resources for you to go look at. As I say, 215,000 in the Healthy Self. We played one of the stories from Real Redox Results. We also have discoverredox.com and Getting Younger Club. So lots of information.